ADHD medication, sometimes they don't get it right. It's not like Vyvanse or dexamphetamine is completely out. It's that certain dosages are out. There might be other ADHDers out there that have leftover medication who are around you that didn't work for them, but it might be your solution. Some of the non-medication solutions, one of them is welcome to the ADHD Fempreneur Podcast, where we unleash the power of the ADHD entrepreneurial mind. I'm Kerry Fitzgibbon. Ladies, let's turn your superpower into success. Before I jump into the episode today talking about the shortage of medications, ADHD medications, I want to share with you a cool tool. So I use lots of different types of cool tools in my business, in my life, to be able to help with everything ADHD and business related. And this cool tool I want to share with you today is to help you take a holiday. So let's just say you can't get hold of your meds. Some people are solution, take a break, take a holiday if you can. So this is a really cool tool that I've found that I find, and it's for cheap flights, okay? So it's actually Google. It's Google Flights. So you go to Google and you Google Flights, and in it gives you, and then you can enter, where you are, your destination and whatnot. And Google searches the entire internet and finds you the cheapest flights to your said destination. You can get like 50% off and so on certain flights. It picks up absolutely everything. So that is one of my really, really cool tools. I use Google Flights a lot. So I go to other places. I'll use WebJet and whatever else, but I'll always go to Google Flights first, have a look, see what there is available. And especially if you're open to travel anywhere, you just go to Google Flights. You can put worldwide in there. It will show you all the cheaper flights and stuff all around the world, and you can just pick a destination. So I hope that cool tool helps you. I absolutely love it. Go check out Google Flights. Welcome back to the ADHD Fempreneur, and this week we're going to tackle the elephant in the room, and that is the shortage of ADHD medication worldwide. Oh my goodness. Now, one of the things that I'm a little bit I'm just really confused about is how this shortage has happened. And many of you are probably experiencing this yourself. If you have decided to go down the medication path to help your ADHD, then you'll know that around the world there is a massive shortage in stimulant medication, which is what most of us, well, not most of us, I know that I'm on it, and I know a lot of other ADHDers are on the stimulant medication. Now, the one in particular that I am on is Vyvanse or dexamphetamine, and it's called other names I know in the UK, but Vyvanse here in Australia, and I believe the US as well. And there has been a massive shortage, and I actually really want to know why. So I did a little bit of research on this to be able to sort of talk about this topic, because I know many of you are probably going through the same thing. Let me just share with you, my last few weeks. So here in Australia, it's been a little bit slower. All right. So as in we have had stock up until recently. I know in other parts of the world, and let me know if this is you, where there's been over 2 years worth of shortages, where people who have been diagnosed with ADHD have gone on to medication, spent that time, as we know that you do, to get the medication right for you, because we know that the first time we go on medication, it might not work, or it might not, well, it works usually initially for the first few days, we know this, but then it can start to not work as well. Or you can have various side effects on a certain type of medication. So it can take up to a year of just trialing medications, trialing the different types, trialing the different amounts, dosages and so on, to get something that's actually going to fit and be right with you, with less side effects, but most benefits. So, you go through that year of, for some of us, year of testing, and you finally come up with something, and your life changes and turns around and becomes a little bit better, I guess. You become more focused. You become, be able to cope with things more, less anxiety, less, glitching, so to speak, but it's still, your quirks are still there and so on. So you find this perfect balance, and then you get told, yep, sorry, we can't supply that anymore. And it's like, well, why? With a world full of pharmaceuticals, with a world full of, I guess, drugs as such for everything. Like, I can't imagine there's a shortage of antidepressants out there and so on, but ADHD medication there is. And so like I said, here in Australia, it's only just happening for me. I mean, I've only just experienced it recently, and I'm on a 40 milligram, okay? And this is the kicker. And we'll go into, a few other things in a minute, but this is the kicker is, so I've gone to my pharmacy and they've gone, like the last time I had to have it refilled and they said, oh, you're lucky, we've got some, right? But I've been speaking to other people and hearing from other people and in forums and that where people are running around different pharmacies trying to find their medication, their ADHD medication. And anyway, so just recently, typical ADHD, I've left it to the last day. I've got one left today. This is it. This is all I've got. And I've gone to my normal pharmacy and they've said, no, I'm sorry, we're out of stock. And they said, you can go on the waiting list. But the date they gave me was the following week, which would have been last week, or the following week. So, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, shivers. Okay, so then I ran around 5 other pharmacies and all of them were out. And then I went online and started calling people. So we're talking, I live on the Gold Coast in Australia, no pharmacies, right? I'm like, oh dear. So I happened to be going to another city and I did the same thing there, nothing. And then over the weekend, I went to another city and there was nothing there. So what ended up happening is that, and this is what I don't understand. So what ended up happening is I went onto forums to find out what other people are doing. And there were some solutions there. And I'm going to share them with you in a moment. But first of all, I want to talk about what I've read up about the reasons why there's a shortage. Because I just sit there and go, with all the drug companies out there and all the pharmaceutical companies out there, and with all the people with ADHD relying on this medication just to have a bit of a normal life, why is it happening? The DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, has to approve certain things that go into our medication, okay? And so as more people are being diagnosed with ADHD, obviously it's increased the number of people that need it. So they're saying in the last couple of years, over 40% increase in people needing or wanting ADHD meds or medication. So that means that, that they're trying to supply enough. The DEA has to approve the release of certain types of medication, and they are saying they are, but the pharmaceuticals are saying, companies are saying that they're not. And it all stems down, they're saying, to the DEA's being a lot more careful nowadays due to the big Oxycontin opioid incident of years ago, where they did release the opioid into these medications that were highly addictive, and people were getting addicted to drugs and so on from them and having adverse side effects. But this was released and rolled out, and there was many people affected by this. But with ADHD medication, now this is the difference, and people can argue with me, but all the research I've done, and even myself taking it, is it's actually not highly addictive. We actually some days forget to take it. So there are many days where I'm like, oh, I haven't had it today. If it was highly addictive, I'd be searching for that thing and needing to take it. Okay. So then you might say, and I know you guys understand that, well, then why do we need it? Why can't we just deal with the fact that it's out of stock? Well, it's just that it just makes things a little better, especially if you are an entrepreneur or you're running your own business. And for me, as a female going through perimenopause, it's that the focus, the losing focus, the distraction, the anxiety, the brain not switching off is real, okay? So if there's something that I can do, which there is, the medication that just stops that a little bit so that I can focus and build my business without going absolutely mental and crazy, I still do some days, then I'll take that thing. But I don't need it all the time, but I want to be able to have access to it when I need it, which is why I decided to take this medication after lots of research and so on. So they say also that, so they're saying, obviously the DEA, certain ingredients, things that have happened in the past, everyone's blaming each other. There was also the fact that over the pandemic, everyone was able to go to telehealth, and I believe some people are saying that was abused. So the medications were just handed out, like lollies to a certain extent. I don't know how, because you've got to jump through a few hoops, but some sites are saying that's the changes in telehealth and people being able to get easy access means there is a worldwide shortage. So we know that that's the case. But let's look at sort of some of the solutions that I believe that should be offered out there that are not offered until you dive deep into some of the forums and you find out what other people are doing. So I run around all these pharmacies. I can't get my medication. And to be honest, like I went away to Bali and Thailand for about 6 to 8 weeks. I was away and I didn't take any ADHD medication during that time. But I was on holiday. I was relaxing. I didn't need it as much to focus on my day today. So one of the solutions that they're coming up with is that, people, if they can't get that medication, go on holiday. Well, that's all cool if you can. And I suggest, take a few more breaks and be kinder on yourself and so on. But if we're talking about what should be offered out there and some of the forums that I've been reading and what my solution was. So here was my solution when I've turned up to the pharmacies and I'm on 1 day left, and now I'm 5 days where I haven't taken it, and I'm in the highest peak of my business. I'm what I call a sprint in my business. A sprint is when I do a lot of money making things in a really short, sharp time frame, and I'm on. And I'm working 12, 13-hour days. Well, I need to have something that's going to help me get through that. So I'm now got no Vyvanse. So what we find, and many of you might understand that if you are not on medication or are taking the steps into this, is that when you first start going onto medication, sometimes they don't get it right. So maybe you are on a type of ADHD medication that has significant side effects. So I had Ritalin, I had Concerta, ended up with Vyvanse. Okay, those are the three lots of different types that I got. So I have leftover Ritalin that I tried it for a month or so. It had adverse side effects, so the rest of the prescription was left. Same with my Concerta, and then same with Vyvanse as I was going through different dosages. So I started on a 20 milligram, then I started on a 30 milligram, then I went to a 50 milligram, then I went to a 40 milligram. Okay, so I still had, I didn't have 20s left, 30s left, but I had some 50s left. During some times and stuff like that, but they're too strong. But what I ended up doing when I was completely out, so we're now completely out, I've got nothing. I've got Ritalin in my cupboard and Concerta, and I know they don't work for me. But I have a friend who Vyvanse didn't work for them. So they had 20 milligram Vyvanses at home. So I went and got them, and they were, took them for a week because they were, after that they were finished. But I went to a forum and I started reading up a bit more about it. And a lot of people were saying, listen, go to your psychiatrist and get a different dose. So here's the thing is that, so it's not like, for instance, Vyvanse or lisdexamfetamine is completely out. It's that certain dosages are out. So they don't have a problem, or they have, but they don't have a problem with 20 milligrams and 70 milligrams, okay? But they've had a shortage in 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, depending on where you are and depending on the dosages and stuff like that. And so my little brain goes, well, okay, well, and so some of the forums have been saying, well, why don't, just go to your psychiatrist and get them, if you're on a 40 milligram, get them to re-prescribe 20s, and then you double them, which has been my solution. But here's the problem with that, is that it's really hard to get into your psychiatrist. There's a wait list because you've got every other ADHD person trying to get in to get their medication changed so that they can actually take something that's actually available right now. So that's a difficulty. It took me, I was lucky, I get prescribed by my doctor now, and I was able to ring up, and it still took 5 days. 5 days for it to be able to change, and I got re-prescribed 20 milligrams. So I take 2. But I don't understand, because if they can do a lot of 20 milligrams and 70 milligrams, so I've know people that are on 30 in that, and they've been told to get 70. And then when you've got a tablet's got more than you need in it, you don't just empty it out, and you've got to actually empty it into a glass of water, they say. So you empty it into a glass of water, and you measure the glass of water, and then you've got to measure down how much you have to drink with the medication in it to get the amount that you need, okay? It's a bit of a science to it. Go Google it, but that's what I looked at. So initially when I was on a 50 and I knew it was too much, I was actually taking the tablet, emptying part of it out, going, that's probably enough, rather than actually doing the water method, which is actually apparently the method you're meant to do. But what I don't understand, and I'll keep saying this, is, well, if they've got the dosages, why doesn't someone just make them up? If you've got all these 20 milligrams, why isn't the pharmacies turning them into 40 milligrams by taking the 220 and putting it into a shell and turning it into a 40? That's what I don't understand. I don't understand how there's a shortage of the percentage, the amounts that you're taking. That's my frustration. But one of the solutions that I went to all these different pharmacies, I went to several compounding pharmacies where they make their own medication or, and so on. And they said, yep, sure, we can make up your 40 milligram for you. It's going to take a few days. We need to send it down to our compounding place or whatever where they make it up, and we'll do that for you. So they can do it. And that's here in Australia. I don't know about other parts in the world. But the other thing as well, so A is if you can get the dosage changed and they've run out of your dosage, but they have other ones, try and see your doctor or your psychiatrist to get it changed to one that is available for now, because let's face it, they've actually stopped saying when the 40 milligrams are available. Initially, it was meant to be the 31st of March. It's not saying that anymore, so who knows? 50 milligrams has been resolved here in Australia. They've got them. Well, why not change that to the ones that are missing? It would be my question on that one. So solutions are try and get your medication changed to a different dosage if that's the problem. The other thing is try compounding pharmacies. And also, if you've got nothing else and this is what you need and that. I had a girlfriend of mine, she went to a pharmacy, they said they were out, and she said, I'm completely out. I'm going crazy. And they said, okay, we've got some. Right, so they actually had some. They had to be a hard luck story, and so on. So that was the solution for that was what happened there. So I don't know what the long term. I don't know what the short term solution is. I don't know what they're going to do long term in this. But if this is you and you are having issues getting your medication, I hope some of my tips here have helped. Maybe speak to other people in the ADHD community. I know this sounds I shouldn't. I'm not a medical professional. This is just what I would suggest. So please do maybe ask your medical professional, but there might be other ADHDers out there that have leftover medication who are around you that what didn't work for them, but it might be your solution. So that might be going into a forum around your area and asking, because that's what helped me. The other one is going and trying to see a psychiatrist to get your meds changed to another dosage if possible. And some solutions are to try something else, which we know that if you try something else and you've already been through it all, it's really, really frustrating. Some of the non-medication solutions, one of them is the talking therapy, they say, but you need a psychologist for that. And they're in shortage as well because of all of us ADHDers. So exercise, food, actually quite often what you put in your stomach can help. I do have an episode where we do start talking about sort of some of the natural remedies. We do talk about some of the foods and some of the things you can do to help. I did that with a naturopath and expert in their field, Sambo Patrick. So make sure you go and check that out, that episode out if you're wanting some more natural remedies as well. So one of the things I've been thinking about, because, I spent, and I know, and actually this is really it's not funny, but you've got to laugh, don't you? Because otherwise you cry, is that as I'm going from pharmacy to pharmacy, other ADHDers are coming in at the same time as I am. And the pharmacists know. I mean, we're all going in and we're doing exactly the same thing, running from pharmacy to pharmacy, trying to find out if they have our medication, if they have the dosage that we need and so on. So I've run into a few ADHDers in my time doing doing this. And there's a couple of things that I was just thinking about in it. One is that, I did get on the phone and call a few people, but I'm wondering if it's the ADHD brain that goes, nope, that's not good enough. I've actually got to go in. I've got to go in for the slight chance that they might, me being there might mean that they do have a supply in the back that they're going to give me because I'm there. But the other thing is whether there could be like some kind of database, and maybe there is, database of pharmacies out there and what they are supplying so that we could just log into the database. And maybe you have to, where I think it probably needs to be policed to a certain extent is you don't want any person logging into a database to find out what pharmacies have got what drugs because, it could cause a few issues and there's some bad people out there and whatever else. But that if you have actually got a prescription and that you can, have a certain login to a central database to find out which pharmacies have which medications at which dosage and so on. So a list of pharmacies that can help you. The other thing, so that's something that I've been thinking that would probably be very, very helpful for us. And I'm not sure if there's anything out there. If anyone knows of anything, happy days, certainly leave a comment. Let me know so that I can share it with the community a bit more as well. But the other thing is that there should be more around the compounding pharmacies and what they actually can do. Because if the medication is available, but it's not available in the dosage that you need, so I need a 40 milligram Vyvanse, but they say there's 20s, there's 30s, there's 50s have been resolved and 70s. So maybe not the 40s and the 30s. Well, wouldn't I don't understand why there isn't more education about compounding pharmacies being able to make this up for us so that we don't have to be in this high anxiety, high stress, running around pharmacies trying to find a solution. So wish that, people, I guess, would, all the agencies or the official government agencies would probably care a bit more because it's so, we all know that more and more people are being diagnosed with ADHD. Like I said, in the last 2 years, 40% rise in people being diagnosed. It doesn't mean that there's more ADHDers. It's that more people are being diagnosed, and especially females. We were always underdiagnosed. We were always high anxiety, dreamy, whatever else. And nowadays it's us going into, I've just turned 50 recently, us going into our perimenopause stage where things are worse, but where it's sort of coming up front that maybe we do have, but we're still being undiagnosed and people are still saying, oh, it's perimenopause and whatever else. But I guess with the education out there, and I'm trying to educate more and more as well, and especially going into the age and females, and they are being, they're coming out, they're being educated, they're putting their hand up and saying, yeah, I believe I have ADHD. They're going through the tests, they do have it, then they're finding a solution in medication that the authorities need to keep up with this, and they need to do something about it as far as I'm concerned. Just saying, hey, listen, oh, well, you just have to wait, or, it isn't good enough. So if you found this episode useful, you want to know more about being or having ADHD, being an entrepreneur, how you can grow your business, cool tips, tricks on coping with business growth and ADHD, and perhaps some conversations about work-life balance and meds, then make sure that you do subscribe to your favorite podcasting channel, whether that be Spotify or Apple Podcast, or you follow me on any of the socials on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.